party images, right, customized versions, because that's tied to the hardware. So also you have a hardware emulation.
That's again correct. It's trying to simulate the hardware, right? Now, obviously, when you're using emulators, there's certain things you'll never get access to. For instance, emulators will always bridge the network cable as Wi-Fi, or I think, I think it bridges it as the Wi-Fi connection or as a cell connection. Actually, you can't test different transports with that, right? iOS has some tools available in Xcode for simulating like gyroscopic functions and whatever. Locations and all. Android has a few of those things, but it's not quite as refined yet as iOS. If we look at the Android Virtual Device Manager here, you'll see I already have the one created for Zoom. I can create a new one. First you gotta do is give it a name, and then under target, so let's explain. So there's Android 2.3.3, and then there's Google APIs, right? Google APIs, Android 3.2. You'll see that level 10, level 10. And then you'll see down here for 3.2, level 13, level 13. What's the difference? What Android 2.3.3, you're just getting the Android code. It doesn't include the Google library. So it won't include the marketplace. It will include the ability to link a Google account. If your software needs to test those things, you could create an emulator based on the Google APIs, and it'll have those things added. So it'll give you a little more of the Google libraries in there. Okay, but when we see the Motorola ones, so you have Motorola Zoom 2 and Zoom 2 Media Edition. These will always be based on the standard Android code base. They unfortunately don't have the Google library. So, and when you click one of these, like the Zoom 2, you'll see it pre-populates what features the device has and the built-in skin, okay, which automatically sets the resolution. You can override some of these things. So if I was choosing a standard Google API or an Android, I can set my SD card slide. I can choose my...
Okay, you can configure that.
Yes, so you can configure, is it trackball support on this device? No. If I wanted to add it, I could, and I would have a trackball support. So you can configure a lot of the things that'll be available. That way, if your code needs to look, if the device has camera, and I want to see it work on a device that doesn't, I could change this to no and make sure my call to check if the camera is present or not works, okay? So a lot of good things in that regard. So you could customize a lot of stuff. When you choose like one of the Motorola ones, it automatically configures all those values with what that physical device has. So that's a nice feature that it gives you, right? Along with the standard memory and the resolution, the RAM size, you can see it there. Whereas I could customize these if I was using a standard generic emulator image, okay?
How many manufacturers do this?
Motorola is the only main one I know that actually creates the skins and whatever that I'm aware of. They were the only one I've seen. I've looked some of the other ones like Samsung and HTC. Samsung has some too? Okay, good. Some of them have like the libraries for coding the 3D and testing stuff and all. Motorola is definitely the best. Every time I see a new Motorola phone comes out there, but as I mentioned, Samsung I knew was working on it, so it looks like they're releasing some as well. I don't see them in the list unless it's only a couple devices. By the way, you would click create AVD, it creates the AVD and goes. One warning, if you set a large SD card, it reserves that much space on your hard drive for the SD card. So if you have a small hard drive and you create a bunch of emulators, you'll fill your hard drive very fast, so be careful. I already have one created. If we go back to the SDK manager, I was looking for Samsung, probably maybe under the 3.0 or 3.2 maybe, let's see. Yeah, I don't know, maybe Samsung's not in the direct list yet, maybe. I used to have to install the Motorola ones manually. I would download them from their website, unzip them in a certain location on the SDK, and they would appear in the AVD manager. I know I read Samsung has some too. Maybe I don't have the latest update list or something, or... But I'm not seeing Samsung here. It might be a manual. 233, let's look. OpenSense or Sony Xperia. I don't think any of these are Samsung devices. I think they're all Motorola's.
The first time you said ask me to create accounts in all of them too.
Yeah. Yes. By the way, to get the Motorola ones, you need to have an account on Motorola's development platform. It's free. Just set it up. Motorola actually has something. This is more for developers, but they have their customized version of the the development environment of what do you develop in the Java development environment? Eclipse. Motorola's IDE using Eclipse, they wrote their own version that has all links to their tools and did some cool customizations and all. I highly recommend it if you're going to install it. The Motorola IDE has a lot of nice features that they've added in to make it easier to develop and submit your applications for review and stuff like that. So they have a customized IDE that you can use instead of just the standard Citrix. It can do everything that the standard development environment can do, plus a lot of nice Motorola features in it. But you do need a Motorola developer account to download that and to download these image files. Good?
Can you compare the performance when you're monitoring while testing on the emulator and actual device?
I would never do performance testing on an emulator. Never. No. Functional testing only, we'll mention that in a little bit when I talk about the limitations. Never do performance testing on an emulator, just can't do it. Plus, I'll be honest with you, and this is a big complaint, every time I go to a Google conference or something, the first thing the Google guy gets up there does and goes, yeah, yes, we know the emulator's slow. It's been like that. It literally took 10 minutes earlier just to load up the Zoom emulator, which is why I'm not going to load another one right now and have us all sitting here 10 minutes twiddling our thumb watching a screen that says Android. So it takes a long time. It's a hog.
Recently they introduced Intel image, right? That is very fast.
Yes. I haven't personally tried that yet, but yes.
That's very fast. It's about real-time device.
Oh, good.
Almost like real-time.
Okay.
Like how you see iOS emulator in Mac OS. It's almost similar to.
Excellent. I have to try that out.
It's strange. Normally it's the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Emulators are fast.
Yeah. It just traditionally it's been.
But if you use Intel image, it's almost similar to that iOS.
In this case, because the emulators are all ARM images,
Yeah.
you're actually running on x86 box.
Yes.
It's actually doing binary level emulation.
Yes.
So that's why
Always you just need to do that.
that's why they're all slow. But x86 is actually virtualization. It's almost like how you're running your virtual box or VMware images. No, but that's why it's
My older platforms, we had Microsoft, Windows Mobile and all. They are running on different hardware. Right? But when you're doing emulators are always, they don't use the real, because at the time the hardware is.
the hardware on your physical box part was even more slower.
Okay. So we've talked about the SDK manager. We've talked about the AVD manager, how to load AVDs, load those up. You can use them. You can navigate through them. There's another tool I wanted to give a demo of, which is another option is virtual device testing. So there are multiple companies now which offer you through the web to access virtual devices online to test your applications. Okay. Two examples: Device Anywhere, Perfecto Mobile. There are other ones. The one that I particularly subscribe to is Device Anywhere. But I'll load it up here. So this is Device Anywhere Studio, and basically these are all subscription-based services where you actually subscribe to packages of devices. In this case, I'm looking at my international Android package, and I can see that they have dozens of different devices available that I can navigate through and play with, right? Some available online, some offline. These are shared devices. So you see this one right here has a lock. That means someone else, one of their other customers, is currently using this device. Once he's done with it and releases it, it'll go through a cleanup process and then make itself available about 10 minutes later for the next guy. So let's say I wanted to test a specific Android device. Let's see if they have the HTC One X yet.
They don't have free service, right? I heard like Device Anywhere is very costly.
It can be, yes. Yeah.
What is the cost model?
I believe in the model we're paying for, where we pay for hours up front, we're paying $12 to $13 an hour of usage. So it's very important that once you're done with the device, you release it, because as long as the device is sitting on my screen, I'm getting charged. Now, it will time out after 15 minutes of non-usage, right, to get that extra time in there. So if you use this service, don't go to lunch and leave it on the screen, or you lost 15 minutes of your time.
They have like Samsung and LG. They have some remote test labs.
Yes, there are other companies that are offering some test lab functions where you can try and use them and all.
Those are free?
Yeah, those are free.
Yeah.
But like they are provides only if you go to Samsung, only Samsung devices.
Right. And all the major devices of Samsung.
Yeah.
So what's the point in actually charging? Why are they charging so much?
These guys are actually buying these many devices and putting it
Actually, like a physical device,
They have-
Right.
Oh, it's some third.
This
party
is a,
use-
yes,
use
these
for-
are real devices, and I'll show you in a second. Let's do one. Let's find a device. Let's use a nice HTC Evo 4G, one of my favorites. So I'll acquire this device. Now, I'll tell you that sometimes these devices don't work and you have to release them and get another one, so you may have to try a couple times. I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to pop it out so I have it in its own window. I'm going to reduce the size so I can better work with it, right? So you got to do kind of some customizations and all to see it, right? And now I have access to the device here. Let's make it small because I'm on a projector screen. Okay, so now I have access to the device, right? So I can use, I think it's Control on the Mac to swipe. Oh, maybe it's Command. Yes, I can do swipe commands by holding down the Command key. I can hit the various buttons on the device. I can affect the power. I can choose my input mode for keyboard for the hardware. I can put the battery. I can disconnect it. I can switch my orientation of my device, so I can switch it left, and then in a moment the device will catch up. What this particular company actually do is they actually gut these phones and install them in like 1U server rack. So they have a server rack with a 1U device, and it's actually in there at their location. They have service plans and everything for them set up, so you can actually test over mobile. The only thing you can't do is battery testing because they're always plugged in for rightful reasons, right? They need them plugged in. I can turn the camera light on or off, so audio and video I always recommend, especially if you don't have a great internet connection, turning the video quality down. Yes, it makes the display look a little bit, find a happy medium that makes it look okay, right? But you're doing this more for functional testing and compatibility. Sometimes color depth can be changed. Microphone, speaker, I can scare a guy in his lab if I want by turning the microphone on and yelling at him even though I can't see him. Let's try something unique here. Let's open up the applications list on this. And let's open up the camera.
Will show you the rack, server rack?
Yep, it will show you their lab, yeah, depending on where it is right now on this device.
That's interesting.
So we're not getting a picture right now. Oh, it's obviously pointing at some sort of digital display on their server rack or something. So obviously whatever one this is in, but I've turned on camera phones before and seen the back wall of their office with posters and all, depending on how the device is racked. So I got full access to the camera here, right? I can take a snapshot of this and transfer it. And there are ways through their interface to upload files to the device to get your app over there very easily. Again, I sometimes just use Dropbox, but there's ways to upload apps, pull files off, debug mode. There's all types of stuff available. There's even some advanced modes. I can send an SMS to this device. I can get a connection to get the device logs. There's all types of things you can do with this.
Can you call to this device?
Huh?
Can you call?
Yes, I can. We could do that. As a matter of fact, you have a phone that'll make US calls.
Can you change the orientation now?
Yeah, for some reason this phone isn't supporting, isn't flipping the orientation correctly, like I expected it would. This particular phone isn't. Most of the devices, when you flip the orientation, the screen will change. I'm not sure why this one isn't, but yeah, we can even let's go back to home, and I'll give Samit the phone number of this device, and he'll call it for us. And let's see.
Maybe auto-rotating is off or something.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Now, I've heard that these guys actually, you know, because of the way they got their devices, some of their competitors argue, oh, it's not the true device. It is a device, it's just they take it apart and mount it in the server rack and all. Some of the other companies say they use the true devices. A couple of things, if you're using a service like this that I highly recommend. Never put your personal email accounts or anything on the device, because you don't know how many times I've been in the middle of using the device and it's locked up and I've had to release it and then it doesn't come back online for like an hour, you know, and I'd be amiss if I didn't admit to occasionally when I see a guy's, you know, personal account on there, maybe sending him an email like, hey, how you doing? You know, I mean, he's on there, you know, I'm reading some guys that, you know, SMS messages and meeting invites and all that stuff. So use test accounts. Don't count on being able, when you release the device, they try and clean it up, but I don't know exactly what their cleanup scripts does. It doesn't do everything because usually the applications are still on there. It just tries to release certain features and reset certain things. Like if you set a passcode on the device, it'll clear the passcode, right? That's important because the next guy doesn't know the passcode.
How do you test GPS functionality?
Well, you wouldn't be able to travel.
That's
But yeah, you wouldn't be able to travel with the device in this case. That would be another thing you couldn't do. Now you could use a mock locations app and install it on here. Android supports mock locations, but you could do that on a physical device in your presence as well. What's that?
That comes with SDK also, right? We can put the latitude and
I believe so, yes. I know you can do that on iOS. I think you could do that on Android as well, yes. I usually use a third-party app, which is like the type of city or something, and then it just sets it in it. Phone identity. So the number of this phone to me is, okay, you ready? US number, so +1 318 262 1004. I haven't tried this test in a while, but let's see if it works. Let's turn the speaker on and we can hear Samit.